Throwaway and fake names for privacy. For context, I, 25-year-old female, have 2 daughters from a previous relationship. Hope, 11 years old, and Grace, 9 years old, and a daughter with my current husband called Faith, 3 years old. When Hope and Grace were 4 and 2, I went to prison for 5 months. My charges were theft-related, and I committed them to fund mine and their father's substance habits. During these 5 months, I signed over custody of them to my sister and brother-in-law Sarah, 40 years old, and Paul, 46 years old, who had been told they couldn't have kids. I didn't plan on taking my daughters back after my release, so I planned to allow them to adopt them later down the line. Sarah and Paul were all for this. They had even approached me with the idea before I even ended up in legal trouble. However, I turned my life around in prison. I got clean, broke up with my baby's father, and met Aiden, 27-year-old male, through a pen pal program my older brother Ryan, 28-year-old male, encouraged me to take part in. When I was released, I began to plan my legal strategy to get my daughters back, with Aiden helping me along the way. After my release, I received a phone call from Sarah. She told me that the doctors were wrong. She was pregnant with her miracle baby. I began to tell her congratulations, but before I could finish, she told me that if I didn't come and pick up my kids and their stuff in the next hour, she would be throwing them out onto the street. In a panic, I called Aiden, who drove me over there within 15 minutes. When we arrived, my girls were sitting on the front porch in their pajamas, no coats or shoes on, and all their belongings in trash bags. I took them back to my apartment, and the next time I saw Sarah was in the custody hearing, where I was awarded full custody of them both. I've had minimal contact with Sarah and Paul and their son for the last 6 years, but I invited them to my wedding for the sake of my mother and other siblings. Kate, 32 years old, Ryan, 28 years old, and Jody, 19 years old, who are all still in contact with her. The issue at hand, Aiden and I got married 2 weeks ago. During the reception, I made a speech. In the speech, I thanked Kate and her wife, Amanda, for my beautiful wedding cake that they baked free of charge, Ryan, for encouraging me to take part in the pen pal program that led me to meeting Aiden, and Jody for being a wonderful godmother to my daughters and making custom bridesmaid and flower girl dresses for them. I didn't think anything of not mentioning Sarah in the speech until 2 days later, when she called me screaming and yelling about me being an asshole for embarrassing her in front of the whole family. She told me I should be thanking her for raising my kids, threatened to sue me for custody of her daughters, and called me a witch for not letting them have a relationship with their real sibling, referring to my nephew, and suggesting Faith is not Hope and Grace's real sister. I hung up on her. The reason I think I might be the is because she did do a lot for me, essentially keeping my kids out of the foster care system, and if she hadn't taken them in, I may not have seen them again. I'm just not sure. I'm getting conflicting opinions in my personal life. Kate, Ryan, and Jody tell me she's unhinged, and they will be cutting contact, but my mother and aunt say I could have just mentioned her in the speech, and I should have known that she would have reacted this way. So, am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She kept your kids as long as it benefited her, then threw them in the street when she found out she could have her own biological child. She traumatized them. She may have done you a favor once upon a time, but then she turned it to shoot. You don't owe her anymore. Cut her off. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She literally threw them out. Why would she be owed any thanks at this point? Sarah made her choice regarding your daughters the instant she found out she was pregnant. Screw her. ETA, tell Mom and Aunt you will be blocking them along with Sarah if they keep it up. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. Here's what's been going down. So, after that whole mess with Sarah blowing up my phone, things took a turn for the worse. I thought I could just ignore her and move on, but nope, she wasn't having any of that. 2 days after the call, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer. And guess what? Sarah was actually suing me for custody of Hope and Grace. My heart sank. I mean, I knew she was mad, but this was a whole new level of crazy. I showed Aiden the letter, and he was just as shocked as I was. We both knew we had to fight this, but the thought of dragging the girls through a court battle made me sick to my stomach. They've been through enough, you know? But we couldn't just let Sarah take them, not after everything we've been through to be a family. The next week was a blur of meetings with lawyers and trying to keep things normal for the girls. I didn't want them to worry, but kids are smart, and they knew something was up. Hope asked me if they were going to have to move again, and I promised her that wasn't going to happen. But inside, I was terrified that I might be making a promise I couldn't keep. Then the day before the first court date, my mom called. She had been on Sarah's side, saying I should have just mentioned her in the speech. But now she was crying. She told me that Sarah had confessed to her that the whole lawsuit was just to get back at me for the speech, and that she didn't really want the girls. She just wanted to make me suffer. I couldn't believe it. How could she play with the girls' lives like that? It was unforgivable. But here's where it gets even more twisted. My mom begged me not to tell anyone about Sarah's confession. She said Sarah was going through a tough time with her own marriage, and that she didn't mean any of it. She was asking me to forgive Sarah, to let it go for the sake of the family. I felt like I was being backed into a corner, looking weak and desperate if I gave in. But what choice did I have? If I could avoid dragging the girls through a court battle, shouldn't I at least consider it? The court date came, and I was a mess. But then, right there in front of the judge, Sarah dropped the lawsuit. She said she realized she had made a mistake, and that the girls belonged with me. I was relieved, sure, but also angry and confused. Why put us through all of this just to back down at the last second? I thought that would be the end of it. But no. Life had another curveball to throw my way. Aiden lost his job. The company he worked for was downsizing, and just like that, we were down to one income. With 3 kids and a mountain of legal fees from the custody scare, we were in deep trouble. We had to make some tough choices. Aiden started looking for work, any work, but jobs were scarce. I picked up extra shifts at my job, but it was barely enough to keep us afloat. We were on the edge, and I could see the stress eating away at Aiden. He was trying so hard to keep it together for us, but I could tell he felt like he was failing. Then out of nowhere, Sarah reached out. She offered to help us financially, no strings attached. She said she wanted to make things right. I didn't want to take her money, not after everything, but Aiden convinced me that we had to think of the girls. We needed the help, and if Sarah was offering, who was I to say no? So we took the money. It felt like swallowing my pride, but it kept us from drowning. And slowly, things started to look up. Aiden found a new job, and we started to get back on our feet. I still have a lot of resentment towards Sarah for what she did, but I can't deny that her help was what we needed at the time. It's been a tense ride, but we're getting through it one day at a time. Thanks for reading. My husband complains about the kids' clothes but has a closet full himself. So I donated his wardrobe and showed him how it feels to lose everything. 30-year-old female. I have 4 children, 10-year-old triplets, 2 boys, 1 girl, from my previous marriage. Their father passed when I was pregnant, and a 6-month-old with my current husband. Been with my husband for 4 years. Well, the story is pretty bland. To make it short, my husband is constantly complaining that everyone has too much clothes, and often tells the kids to go through their clothes so we can donate the stuff they don't wear. It's incredibly frustrating, as he does this at least once every few months. And then I'm left scrambling because my kids don't have enough clothes. There have been a few times they have had to wear dirty items because making it out to the laundromat is extremely difficult with our work schedules, and we have no washer-dryer hookup. But what pisses me off the most about this entire situation is that my husband has an entire large dresser, 6 drawers, and an entire closet packed to the rim with his clothing, and he sees that as no issue at all. He says it's different because the bulk of his are work clothes, which is BS to say the least. He is a cook at a small family-owned restaurant that has no dress code, so he wears whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and often wears his work clothes when he isn't working. Not to mention how many of these clothing items haven't been touched in years or have holes, and he refuses to get rid of them because they're Levi's. I can send them back to the store and get a new pair for free. But he never does. As for my clothes, I literally have 3 pairs of pants, 1 pair of PJs, and 5 shirts. Anywho, when I was at work yesterday, he had the kids go through their clothing. And when I returned home this morning, I do the overnight, my kids had maybe 4 outfits left. I asked him about it, and he said he was tired of seeing piles of their clothing since they don't wear the chute anyways, and that he donated it to Salvation Army. He left for work 45 minutes later. Instead of going to sleep as I should have, I packed up all of his clothes except for 5 outfits and stuck the bags in the back of my closet, somewhere he never looks. When he got home an hour ago, he flipped out, asked where all his stuff was. I said I donated it because I was tired of looking at all his clothes piled everywhere. I left him in the bedroom flipping out, screaming and asking where I brought his chute. I just didn't say anything. The kids were with my mom out to eat dinner because we currently have no power due to the storm. I only just told him 10 minutes ago that I didn't actually donate his clothing and that they are sitting in bags in my closet, and said, "Now take everything you are feeling right now and apply that to my kids, because that's how my daughter feels every freaking time you tell her she needs to get rid of her chute." He now isn't speaking to me because once again he is saying it's not the same. Am I the idiot? For the record, this is the only hang-up. He's otherwise a great man and fantastic with the kids, but the clothes issue is making me grow increasingly resentful. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It sounds like he resents your children. I bet when his biological child gets here, he won't care if his kid has a lot of clothes. I would talk to your children to see if he may be mean to them when you're not around. Based on the results of those conversations, I would reevaluate this relationship. Comment 2. Not the idiot. This is a weird control issue he has. I find it hard to believe he's otherwise great because he's literally created a niche to control and abuse you guys. He needs to immediately stop interfering with other people's possessions completely. I wish you had thrown out his belongings. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around for this update. So after the whole clothes fiasco, things seemed to cool down for a bit. My husband actually apologized and said he'd be more considerate. But, old habits die hard. Last week he came home with a brand new TV, said the old one was too small and that we deserved better. I couldn't believe it. We're pinching pennies, and he's out buying electronics we don't need. I was mad, but the kids were thrilled, so I let it slide. Then my mom got sick. Really sick. Hospital visits, the whole 9 yards. I've been stretched thin between taking care of her and the kids. My husband's been picking up extra shifts, which I appreciate, but it means he's hardly home. And when he is, he's either sleeping or glued to that new TV. The triplets have been acting out, probably because they're picking up on all the stress. The other day, they got into a fight at school. All 3 suspended for a day. I had to leave work early, which my boss wasn't happy about. I'm on thin ice there as it is. But here's the kicker. My husband's sister, who's never liked me, decided to stir the pot. She told him that I've been neglecting the kids and that they're suffering because of it, that I'm too focused on my mom and not on our family. He actually listened to her. We had a huge argument. He said maybe the kids would be better off with someone who could give them more attention. I was devastated. I couldn't believe he'd even suggest such a thing. I spent the night at my mom's crying my eyes out. But in the morning, I went back home. I couldn't let my family fall apart. I told him we needed to work together, not tear each other down. He agreed, but I could tell he was still holding on to his sister's words. Things were tense for a while, but then my mom started getting better. It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I thought maybe we could get back to normal, but normal didn't last long. Yesterday, I found out my husband had been talking to a lawyer about custody. He said it was just to understand our options. But come on, who does that? I felt so betrayed. I thought we were past all this. I confronted him, and it turned into another huge fight. He said he felt trapped, like he couldn't talk to me about his concerns without me blowing up. I was so angry I almost walked out, but then I looked at my kids, my little ones who've already lost so much. I couldn't do that to them. So I stayed. I told him we'd figure it out, that we'd go to counseling or something. He seemed relieved, but I don't know if I can ever really trust him again. And that's where we are now, trying to patch things up, but it feels like we're just putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. I'm trying to hold on for the kids, but every day is a struggle. I just hope I'm doing the right thing. Thanks for reading. My sister with ADD/ADHD wrecks. My hearing aids and parents take her side. So I sue her and watch her savings disappear. Hi, I really need to get this off my chest. I am a 19-year-old female 19, and I have a sister who is 18 years old, female 18, and has ADD/ADHD. In my parents' eyes, she can do no wrong because of her ADD, ADHD. Meanwhile, I am seen as a problem child. Whenever I get something, my sister practically begs my parents for it, regardless of whether it is expensive or unnecessary. She always has to get it, otherwise she will have a meltdown. She is awfully spoiled. If I do something good, my parents always get mad at me and resent me just because I got something better than my sister. My parents have always been toxic, and I never knew why they always preferred my sister over me, or why they see themselves as faultless. At the age of 18, I moved out of my parents' house because I personally cannot handle this situation. It's driving me nuts. Recently, I got fitted for hearing disease because I am hard of hearing in both ears. However, my parents refused to get me hearing disease because they were too expensive. They have perfect insurance, and whenever my sister needs something medically, they can always get it, but somehow not for me. So I got hearing disease myself, and now I can finally hear. It's a bit of a shock for me because it's really new. I can hear a lot of new stuff, even the little things like dropping a pencil. Recently, it was my uncle's birthday. I love my uncle, and in all honesty, he has been there for me despite my parents always resenting and getting angry at me. Whenever I felt down, he always invited me to his house. Sometimes I even snuck out through the window just to go to his house and hang out. So when my auntie invited me to his birthday party, I immediately accepted and went. I was hoping not to see my mom, my dad, and my sister, but unfortunately, I did. As I sat down at the table talking with my aunt and my uncle, my sister randomly sat next to me and started messing with my hair. I told her to stop multiple times, but she said there was something in my hair. I got annoyed and brushed it off, only to realize a second later that she ripped off my hearing disease. She threw them on the ground, and I couldn't hear what she was saying or the background noise. I got really pissed off. I didn't know what I was thinking, but I ended up slapping her face pretty hard. I think I left a pretty nasty mark, in my opinion. When I slapped her face, she immediately froze and started crying, saying that it was all a joke and I was taking it too far. My mom and my dad took her side, saying that it was just a misunderstanding, but in my opinion, it wasn't. She destroyed my hearing disease. I'm glad my aunt and my uncle were on my side, but now I don't know what to do. After all the commotion, I felt so mad that I just left the house. I received multiple texts from my mom saying I need to apologize to her because it was a joke, and that my sister can't help herself because she has ADD, ADHD. Now, my dad is doing the same thing. This is all driving me nuts, and I don't know what to do. I'm starting to feel a little guilty, but I don't think I'm wrong for what I did. Am I the idiot? Note: please don't mind if I misspelled a lot. I rushed. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Deaf here. Your sister is a real bona fide jerk. Seriously, what she did crossed a line. I would consider filing charges, but you know your situation best. 1. Violated your personal space, continued even after you told her to stop. 2. Ripped your ears off. Yes, they're hearing disease and your skin was not broken, if I'm reading your account correctly. But they are yours, and part of you. It is as if she literally ripped your physical ears off. Equivalent of ripping someone's crutches away or glasses off. 3. Your parents are absolute see you next Tuesdays. They're setting your sister up for failure because once she's out in the real world, that excuse ain't gonna hold water. Somebody's gonna slap her harder than you did. Might even be handcuffs slapped on her. I am absolutely fuming for you, #NTA, comment 2. Write your parents. Tell them you were defending yourself from someone who was attacking you to destroy some very expensive assistive medical equipment, that you expect to have that medical equipment replaced in full by them, and that if they don't indicate in writing within 24 hours their intention to do so, you'll be calling a lawyer to sue, and you'll be pressing charges against your sister for attack and for destruction of your assistive devices. Since they're expensive, I assume it will be more than a chump change offense. Remind them there are witnesses to your sister's attack on you and her destruction of your hearing disease. Discuss all of this with your aunt and uncle. It's time for you to take a stand for yourself because this is beyond disgusting. I hope they'll back you. Good luck. Now, for the update. Hi, a lot has happened since my last post. So after the whole mess at my uncle's birthday, things just spiraled. My sister, well, she's been playing the victim card like a pro. My parents, they're eating it up, saying I overreacted. They even had the nerve to ask me to pay for my sister's emotional distress therapy sessions. Can you believe that? But here's where it gets really twisted. My uncle, the one person I thought had my back, he starts telling me I should make amends. Says family is family, and we need to stick together. I was so mad, I couldn't even look at him. I mean, he saw what she did to my hearing disease, right? I was stewing over all this when my phone buzzes. It's a text from my aunt. She's telling me my sister's been bragging about how she got me good, how she planned the whole hearing aid stunt. My blood boiled reading those words. But my aunt, she's got a plan. She wants to help me get back on my feet, says she knows a lawyer who can help me sue my sister for the damage to my hearing disease. I'm thinking, finally, someone's taking my side. So we meet with the lawyer, and he's all business, says we've got a strong case that what my sister did was destruction of property, and we can get her to pay for the replacements. I'm feeling hopeful for the first time in a while. But then the bomb drops. My parents find out about the lawsuit, they go ballistic, they're calling me, texting me, saying I'm tearing the family apart, that I'm an ungrateful daughter. They even threaten to cut me off completely. I'm shaking as I read their messages, but I'm not backing down, not this time. The lawsuit goes to court, and it's like a circus. My sister's up there crying, playing the innocent card. My parents are glaring daggers at me, but the judge, he sees right through it. He rules in my favor, orders my sister to pay for new hearing disease. I'm relieved, but it's a hollow victory. My family's more divided than ever. I thought that was the end of it, but no. Life had one more curveball for me. My sister, she's been ordered to pay, but she's refusing. Says she doesn't have the money. My parents won't pay either. They say it's my fault for taking it to court. I'm back to square one. No hearing disease, no family support. But then my aunt steps in again. She's been saving up, and she offers to pay for the hearing disease herself. I'm overwhelmed. I can't believe after everything, she's still there for me. I accept her offer, and I get fitted for new hearing disease. I'm starting to think maybe this is how it's supposed to be. Maybe I'm better off without my toxic family. I've got my hearing back, and I've got my aunt. It's not perfect, but it's something. I'm trying to move on. Focus on the good. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.